Alright, so this is a project I decided to do. I found a boat on the internet for pretty cheap and I'm going to go through and completely restore it. So I had another video of when I first got it. I'm not sure where that footage is. I'll try and find it here, but if I can't find it, you'll just have to kind of picture. But I did go through and kind of clean it out, and I started pulling some of the boards out, which was all on that footage, but I don't know where all that footage is right now. So we're gonna go through, completely restore it, and basically do the trailer and all. The whole thing's gonna be brand new again. Did a bunch of videos on some parts that I was replacing, and at this point now we're just gonna start tearing into it. So this will be part one of it. There'll be a few parts here, basically ripping it apart, repainting, new flotation foam in the back, then new flooring, new carpet, and a bunch of new electronic stuff. Probably put a trolling motor on it, and a bunch of other things here and there, just little modifications to make it easier to use. As you can see there, some of the rollers were kind of just held together with duct tape. So when we redo the whole trailer, we're going to go through all the rollers, and if they're in good shape yet, we'll keep them. Otherwise, we're going to get all new rollers. There's also a spot on the front of the trailer where there isn't a roller, and there should be right here under the front. So we're going to find one that fits on there and completely redo it. Like I was saying too, we're going to get all new electronics put on it. So this light here I'd like to keep. I kind of like the way it looks. Just going to rewire it and make sure that it works properly. And up top here, this piece here is just going to get cleaned up and painted, and we'll probably just put a piece of plywood over it and a new trolling motor, or a used one probably off of Facebook or something. And then on the steering column there, I'm going to put a bunch of new electronics on there, all sorts of switches and whatnot, just to make it easy for turning lights on and off, and all the bilge pumps and everything. There's actually a live well under that seat there. We'll clean that out, seal it up good, and we'll test that and make sure that's all nice and clean. So there's a couple of bilge pumps underneath it too, and one of them pulls the water in for the live well, and the other one pumps water out. So we're just going to figure out a way to route all the water to the back out of the live well, I'm thinking, and then just flip another bilge on to pump it out. It'll be sort of a long project here, but it should be pretty neat by the time it's all done. The engine that we've got on it is a 50 horse Johnson 2-stroke. I believe it's from the early 80s, but took it out already and it seems to run really well. I cleaned the carbs on it and should be a good little motor for us. Alright, so back here we have a bunch of items that I had already pulled out. Pulled out a lot of decking and whatnot. There's a casting deck right there that's a big oval, and then a bunch of boards underneath. Kind of hard to see there, but they're all sitting on top of the trailer. But we're gonna go through and redo all of them so everything's brand new and fresh again. So another bit of footage that I lost was the first problem that came up with this boat. When I first bought it, the steering was actually locked solid, and well, basically this cable right here was just seized in on the bolt motor. So I ended up just spending a bunch of time getting the old cable out and basically just going through it, making everything work again. So there'll be a video for that coming up. Alright, so we finally got this piece figured out. My goal was to get it to slide in and out real smooth like it is. So that's all set now, it's all cleaned out. I'm gonna put a bunch of marine grease on it here before I reassemble that. basically I just took a drill bit. I'm limited on tools here. This isn't my regular workspace, so just took a regular drill bit here with the pliers and just drug it along and drug all that rusty crap out of it until it finally broke free. And yeah, so now that moves just fine. Now my only problem is my steering wheel. The rack and pinion on it is going bad, so I have to tear that apart and see what I can do to get that working again, because this piece here just won't slide out. So as you can see, the steering wheel here is just locked up. Don't want to turn whatsoever. Alright, it's got the steering wheel off and whatnot. I guess this is part of the issue too. You can see in there's a couple of broken pieces. This part here is actually good yet. It's the other half here that's busted up. You can see here it's missing an entire tooth right here, and this one is actually loose. So I'll pull this apart and see what it's made with. I don't think I'm going to be able to weld it. I think this is cast, but we'll take it apart anyway and just see what's underneath. Alright, so here's the end of the cable that we pulled out. The teeth on it are just sheared. There's nothing left to it, so we'll order a new cable in for it, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so the steering cable came in today. I did a little bit of work here off camera. I just sort of vacuumed it all out, cleaned it out, took all the, at least a few panels off, and I'll have to rip up all this wood and stuff on the bottom. I found that the flotation foam is just absolutely soaked, so that'll have to all get ripped out too. New flotation foam. Let's see, I got the cable here. This is the new one. Put that back in today, and then do a little time lapse of that going back together, and the motor will get put back into place. Well, we all know BOAT stands for bust out another 1,000, but cracked right there. So this pinion's junk. Can't even use that anymore. But basically I had to try and narrow it up a little bit here. The holes needed to be adjusted a little, see, and well, needless to say, it just wasn't a perfect fit. The new parts don't work with the old ones, so ended up having to order a new pinion, so probably have to wait another week for that to come through before we can even test out this boat. Alright, so we got the new rack here, rack and pinion. This is just going to go right on top, like that. Holes all line up. And then this will go underneath the dash. It'll stick out like this, so I had to order a bezel kit. So that way it has something to mount to when it comes out of here. So I got a bezel kit on the way, but otherwise we're just going to throw this together real quick and wait until that kit comes. Alright, so we got the last bit of parts in. Realized I could have done this a lot cheaper if I would have just ordered everything at once, but I didn't think I would have to get anything more than the cable, but then the new cable wouldn't fit the pinion here, and then of course there's no mounting hardware, so I had to get all the mounting hardware for it too. But that's what boats are all about, just spending money. We'll get back to her though. Alright, nothing like new parts on an old boat. It seemed to work out pretty well. At least got to keep the old steering wheel, and it's in there solid too. I mean, the dash moves around, but I didn't really care to make it look pretty, because eventually this board is going to get replaced. I didn't really care to make it precise, because you can see it's really starting to get rotten and old, so that's going to get redone anyway. Just so now I can go test the boat anyway. It sat in there pretty good. You can see I got the bolts all secured on the bottom anyway, and they really went together well. It turns plenty easy. I hope that's not going to be a problem. Might be too easy, but you can see the motor spinning back there. So I got her going the right direction anyway, so now we just gotta snap the cover back on. The original Lund cover and everything. A little faded, but see if I can't find a replacement for that. I think it'd look kind of neat. So now we're just gonna have to find some decent weather to take it out and make sure it doesn't sink. I filled it up with water the other day and I didn't see any leaks coming out of it, so hopefully it, does just as well on the river, but we'll give it a try. Alright, so far so good. It's running really nice. There's no water leaking in. What's in there is what was in there before. I've everything seems to be going smooth. Forgot to bring my paddle with, so I had to grab a stick out of the woods just in case. But steer is pretty nice. It wants to pull to the right pretty hard, but other than that, it's not bad. Little snake in the water right there. Look at him go.